So again, I understand that he can't fully understand why 30, because it can be 25, it can be 21, but not understanding that strategy is taking a risk in the sense that they have their own idea. They say, I give you back 11% because I'm sure my collateral will go higher 30%, and they take an arbitrage of 19. If you talk about finance, how can you not understand this point? Because if you don't understand this basic point, or how company works of taking risk and doing operations, you should not talk about this topic. Study first, have a better understanding, and then try to debate someone that has a bigger knowledge than you in all these topics. Otherwise, you look like a clown.
It's like it reminds me the drunk guy on the bar who is trying to pick up fights with everyone in the bar until he got unlucky enough to pick up a professional fighter.
Hello, here we are again, as every week, discussing about Bitcoin, about treasury companies, about corporate Bitcoin finance. Here I am with Immortal. How are you doing?
Hello, guys. How are you?
And on the other side of the world, back to his hometown, Italy, MicroStrategy. How are you doing?
Hi, guys. Yes, I'm doing great. Finally back on good, stable connection. No crickets, no loud sound on the background. So hopefully it will be a smoother episode.
Missing Asia or not?
Yeah, of course. I will soon be permanent there. So
nice.
Just about time. Yeah.
I remember every time I come to Asia to visit, when I was back in Argentina, I feel really depressed for 2 weeks. This is the effect. Only the people who know Asia can talk about that. But let's move forward to what we have to discuss today. That is a lot of information. The first is something that happened this week. There was the Bitcoin strategy earnings call. They reported like losses, but the biggest thing that was like a bomb to the ecosystem was Saylor saying, we might sell some Bitcoin, and all the Saylor haters came back to talk bullshit about that. So I want to hear you. What do you think would happen during the call?
Yeah, I think, as you said, Fernando, it was very, as usual, every earnings call from strategy gain a lot of attention because, again, as we know, is the largest Bitcoin holder, is the most influential people from, not only from the corporate side, I would say in general now, Saylor is like a kind of prophetic figure, so it attracts a lot of love and a lot of hate. I think overall, we need to remember that they are a publicly listed company. And again, they laid out pretty clearly why they potentially consider selling Bitcoin, because if you can harvest 2.2 billion of tax incentives that a big corporation like Strategy can achieve just by selling a small portion of Bitcoin, for example, before ending of Q4, and then buying it back on a few days after, at a similar cost basis, just to capitalize on these potential tax incentives, it could make sense. Or as well, it could make sense if, as they said, if the MNAV is below 1.22, it's not accretive to sell equity. Maybe it can be more effective to sell as a tiny, almost infinitesimally small portion of Bitcoin. Again, we need to see how it's gonna play out, but the stock reacted pretty well because I think the whole idea is that the Bitcoin per share is the main metrics, and they will try to do everything as possible to optimize in any transaction these key metrics. So I think it was more noise, but from a company management perspective, it's smart to have this optionality. Let's see if they're gonna use it and when.
Yes, the problem came because this strategy, or let's call it tactics, of playing with the tax season is very well known among rich people, but the plebs usually don't have access. Most of the plebs don't even pay taxes, so they don't even know the regulations behind it. So when you are a corporation, even when you are an individual in certain countries, it might be an advantage for you to sell some of your holdings if they are under unrealized loss, because that way you avoid paying the taxes. And guess what you're gonna do with the money that you save from paying taxes? Buy more Bitcoin. So at the end of the day, the strategy of potentially selling Bitcoin or a portion of Bitcoins, it's just with the only goal to keep buying more Bitcoin. That's the bottom line of all of this. Obviously, most people got stuck on the semantics where because Saylor once say never sell your Bitcoin, and now you're saying we would potentially sell some of the Bitcoin if this happen, if we have the option to do this or that. Now this is taken as a war vector, as a vector of attack to just attack Saylor under another argument when you are lacking of real arguments to attack him, right? So that was the main discussion.
Yeah, that's what I saw across Twitter. All of Saylor haters came back from their caves and start attacking because Saylor said, "Oh, we are never sell your Bitcoin," and now the narrative is like, buy more Bitcoin than you sell, so that at the end of the day is net positive. What Diego says is that, yeah, most of the people I heard in the podcast of What is Money, I don't remember that this guy that say when taxes are a problem, it's because you have money. So most of the people don't feel problematic the taxes, and they don't have to do this kind of computation or like accountability and magic to pay less taxes or get benefits from this magic of taxes. So they don't understand, and they just sell the headline. Saylor is selling Bitcoin. The other narrative that we heard about that was that Saylor wants to send this message to the investors or to the big money, to the index. So finally, strategy can get listed into the indexes. Their dev gets a better rating, so they can allow other funds to invest in the product that strategy is creating, and of course, buying more Bitcoin. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's again, now Saylor is no longer in podcast like it was a few years ago. Now he's spending majority of his time on different. Also, his speech is now targeting a different audience. He's trying to change how he explain how strategy works and also how he sees Bitcoin. So it evolves, it matures over time. And I think he's correct. And again, we should not forget that strategy sold some Bitcoin in December 2022 for the same purposes. So again, maybe that time was 10, 15 million. So maybe it was not really a large number. This time might be billions. But again, now strategy is 20 times larger. Bitcoin is 5-6 times larger. The liquidity is impressive. So again, on the tax side, I think it makes sense. And as a figure and a public executive chairman and former CEO of a 50 billion plus company, you need to do everything is possible to optimize also on the tax side, because it wouldn't make sense to have 2 billions left aside. Every company do this kind of computation. So I think it's totally reasonable. And again, as you said now, Fernando, about this other side, he wants to create the highest credit quality possible for Stretch. And so if the way to do it is to confirm to the shareholder and stakeholder that potentially in the future it will manage differently a small portion of Bitcoin, it makes sense from their side. And again, if people doesn't like strategy, they should not buy their product or they should not follow. But again, it's a publicly listed company with lawyers, with rules, many rules that us as common people, we have not even idea of how many laws and rules they need to follow. And I think it's just executing on that side.
Also, another analogy that we were analyzing before was that the goal is probably to qualify for the rating agencies. Mm-hmm. One way to do that is to do actions that these rating agencies can understand. One of them was to put a stack of US dollars on the balance sheet. So that's very understandable for the rating agencies. Now they can see that strategy can pay the dividends for so many months ahead. Another strategy is showing them that to the question, where is the money coming from to pay the dividends? It's, well, here is one option. We can sell the Bitcoin, and there is where the money is coming from. It's very easy to understand for them. So it's just a way to fill a paper to comply with the silly requests that these agencies can. And the analogy came from our personal experience in Hong Kong. So one day we go to the HSBC bank, try to get a loan, and we fill the paper saying they will be asking you what is your income, what is your source of income, your job, and so on. So we go with our entrepreneurship, with our business, actually, as a backup for the loan. Obviously, the employee behind the loan approval consider that very risky, even though it might be a lot more money backing it up than a normal salary. So then we realize, well, I think a better approach would be to just present the salary. So we get back home and recalibrate the strategy. We create the salary for ourselves, which was completely fake, obviously. But that is what the bank actually wanted to see. Now we sent a fake pay slip, and now the loan was approved immediately.
In minutes. That's the point. Yeah.
So it's kind of the same strategy. You see, you have to just comfort what the TradFi institution wants to see.
Yeah. The funny thing was that my payment slip was signed by myself, and they approve it. So that's what Diego says. Sometimes you need to. This is something that I would like to talk about that someday. But what Chef Walton was speaking in one of the True North episodes, how they can create instruments like the agencies can rate high. So first of all, instead of trying to explain the agencies how the instruments work, we know what the agencies want. Let's do the reverse engineering and create a product with Bitcoin inside that the agencies cannot say, no, we are gonna rate it. So that's the point.
That's when, the argument of instead of fighting them, just to try to set up the Trojan horse inside the easiest possible way, they will eat that horse and eventually realize that they have it inside without even knowing it.
Yeah, that is the way that Saylor is doing with Bitcoin.
That's a great point.
Inside the Wall Street. That's the magic of Saylor, and what we repeat every day when we talk with you, Marco, or every day in our stream in Spanish, that Saylor is putting a Trojan horse inside Wall Street that they were not gonna be able to escape. That is Bitcoin. So that's the thing. And the other thing that I want to touch is, I think it's good, but also saying that they might sell some Bitcoin to pay for the dividends removes the narrative of the Ponzi scheme, that they are using money from the investors to pay the new investors. So it removes the narrative of the Ponzi scheme.
I mean, we will touch this point probably in the end when we will talk about the other point, but the whole idea of a Ponzi scheme is that you just raise money from someone else to repay someone else. So it's this kind of circular loop without any reserve. Strategy at 55, 60, I didn't check, per second, but let's say 50 billion of reserve and 10% of debt. So they are over collateralized by a huge amount and they have a massive reserve. So again, the whole idea of people calling Ponzi schemes, they have no idea, first, what strategy is, obviously, and second, even what a Ponzi scheme is. It's just a superficial way of just taking clicks on people that have zero attention or zero knowledge, because as we saw with this guy, he has literally very, very limited knowledge even on basic finance stuff. And so it's very scary that he has 800,000 people following, because it means that they are following just someone who shouts on behind the screen without any relevant knowledge or even a decent IQ, because the IQ seems very little. So I think was pretty compelling to see this interview from... we will discuss later anyway.
Yeah, we will discuss later, but I think that it removes the fad of the of the Ponzi scheme, because it's easy to explain, of course, not in detail. Saylor is raising money, pays to the people 11.5%, so people don't have to deal with the volatility. Saylor and strategy that have more power make profit out of the volatility, because
The
they
risk.
invest inside an asset that
Yeah.
it's 30% a year. So I think that it's simple to understand that it's not a Ponzi scheme. That can fail, of course can fail, but it's not a Ponzi scheme.
But they support the idea of. See, your argument is not. If I'm in that position, your argument is not compelling, because I would say, how do you know Bitcoin is going 30% up per year?
Because
Which is the argument that this guy
Yeah.
used, actually.
Because
I don't think Bitcoin is going to 36 million by 2070, right? If they cannot grasp their head around the concept of exponentiality in assets. And one point that I'm going ahead of the topic. Let's move.
Let's move forward and let's close this conversation. Also, I also heard and read that they want to boost MSTR. So they don't want to hit the ATM anymore. They want to grow the value of the company. And this is another way.
Yeah, for me it was impressive the section in which Saylor for like 10 minutes explained all the possible trades. Because for me now it's clear that they have become, they had so many levers, so many potential action that they can do to exploit in the favor of the company, the arbitrage that the market is leaving on the table. Because, for example, if they see that Stretch is creating too much demand, maybe they can sell this amount, receive money, but at this point buy back MSTR if it's below a certain level that they think is too undervalued. So, as coming back to your point, Fernando, it's true. They want to protect somehow also MSTR, because at the end of the day, MSTR is the most liquid, is the most powerful engine that they have. And so they want to protect it now, because probably they overuse it in the past, or they use it very, very heavily in the past. And now they want to protect it also with the other instrument. And it tells a message to the short seller, or to the, to the people on the other side, because now how comfortable are you to short MSTR if you know that maybe in 1 week they can raise 1 billion just to buy back the stock, and maybe they can push you outside and trigger the stop loss on against you. So I think they are becoming so big, and they have so much now data, information, and liquidity in all the instruments, that they can literally exploit the arbitrage in their own favor, and ultimately, if the strategy is gonna succeed, to the shareholders.
Also, don't forget that these are not separate things. Stretch depends on MSTR.
Yeah.
Right. So in order for Stretch to grow bigger, first it must MSTR grow bigger. This is a percentage of the equation. Is a part of the equation is that MSTR collateralize the Stretch functionality. So it requires that. So that's why they put the attention on growing MSTR, to the point that he was kind of aggressive with the expression. He said he wanted to rip off the faces of the something like that.
Yeah, that's the good point. Yeah, and MSTR is doing good in the last less than 2 months. It went up around 80%. Of course, motivated with all the stocks going up, but strategy that was really bad reached around 100 with all the FUD behind that. Now recovered and is, of course, performing as it was designed. Bitcoin going up, strategy, MSTR going up much higher than Bitcoin. And this is something that's going to be funny when the real bull run comes soon.
Yeah. And also the fact that he wants to have these 3 elements. So he wants to have kind of an harmonious frequency between capital, credit, and equity. So MSTR, Stretch, and BTC. And they will do the action first to optimize the arbitrage, but also to keep this harmonic level between those 3 items. And I think the markets and shareholders are pretty happy, because again, it was not a very future-oriented call like in the past of this 21 billion new acquisition for MSTR, this crazy number, was more just to tactically give messages to calm the market, to give information out, and I think the reaction was pretty good.
Yes. Anything else you want to add, guys, regarding the strategy earning call?
No, I think, to be honest, this point were pretty. I mean, the most important one.
Going to took the headline of the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, we are still super bullish with strategy, and we are still part of the Saylor army.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe what we can see also is that now that strategy formalize all these tactical, operational way that they have, I think also creates another floor for Bitcoiners to say that the bottom was in, because again, we not only see strategy formalize these ideas, but also other ETFs coming online. Also the ETF holder from IBIT and then now Morgan Stanley are pretty stable. Also during the flash crash that you had in October, and now also with the Clarity Act that we will discuss later, etc. I think the overall environment is de-risked a lot, and now starting to see MSTR overperforming Bitcoin and seeing this strong action from the biggest player is a sort of insurance for new people coming into the Bitcoin space that the bottom was in, and now it's time to create position and building again.
Yes, and as a Bitcoiner, as a strategy shareholder, I feel great what Saylor is doing, because he's thinking tactically to make the best out of Bitcoin, out of MSTR. The only way that because all the Saylor haters say, now aren't you disappointed because Saylor say he was going to buy to sell Bitcoin? The only way I would feel disappointed is if someday Saylor say, oh, we reached the bottom because of the 200-day moving average and the RSI sign is showing us that we peaked. So we are going to we're going to sell half of our Bitcoin stack to make profit. In that point, I would feel disappointed. I will sell everything that I have from strategy, and I will start attacking Saylor with Chuck Mollers and all the Saylor haters. But as he's managing the company tactically and the way that is the best for Bitcoin and for shareholders, we are super bullish and still support Saylor. Excellent. So let's continue talking about strategy, but let's move to Stretch. Stretch, the average days from to reach again par was around 10 days. Now it took 14 days to reach par again. We still see a huge amount of volume. Yesterday, touched par a little bit, activate the ATM, collected few Bitcoins. What do you think that is going to happen this week? Because as we said before, this is going to be the first time since Stretch is mainstream that the cutting day, 15, is going to be on Friday. So what can we expect in the upcoming days?
Yeah, I think as you said, I think I reached par in the after hours of yesterday trading day. I think we have on the horizon the fact that probably they will adjust the payment to 2 times per month. Again, I think it will be pretty obvious that the yes is gonna win, and so from I think June it will be double the time in which they're gonna pay, reducing the volatility. So I think it's a great move because now it's approaching 10 billion in total market cap, Stretch by itself. So if you can reduce the volatility, create more stability around it, still certify the collateral, still create this jewel in the crown, as they said. So it's the most important instrument that they want to protect. And again, reduce the volatility with this bi-monthly payment. I think the chance that we will stay pegged to 100 moving forward will be much higher. And again, it will be a win-win for everybody. It will be a win for strategy because they can issue the ATM, more steadily without maybe incurring this depeg situation, and will also be better for all the stretch holder because you have at the end of the day you want the stretch stay at par, you want the stretch stays at 100. So I think in less than 1 year they made another tactical adjustment on the best instrument, and I think it's great for also ultimately for Bitcoiners, because if they can accumulate more steadily Bitcoin, and will be a great news. So I would expect the 100 par to be more frequent and the depeg less often.
As I wanted to point out exactly to the dynamic of the price of stretch, because we were expecting that it goes above par by the beginning of May. It didn't happen above par, but technically it reached par, because from the first day it was, I guess, 99.94, 99.95, 99.97, 99.98. So technically you can call the instrument achieve the goal, which is it is on the range of 0.1% to the par. So in terms of volatility, it accomplished the goal. The part of the strategy that didn't accomplish in that first week was that it didn't trade above par, that 1 or 2 cents above par that is needed to start printing Bitcoin. So that's the part that it was different compared to the previous month. But I guess it's a function also of the volume. The volume was not really, really big, especially in the first day. I think it was 100 million. I mean, it is the biggest by far. Compared to itself,
that we saw, yeah.
Compared to itself, it wasn't as big. So what it needs to be trading a little bit above par and start printing Bitcoins is that the volume goes crazy, like something above 1 billion. And that is most likely going to happen this week.
Imagine being for all the clowns that hate Saylor and they talk bullshit about stretch. We are saying that 100 million is not a good volume for stretch.
On the day.
a day. So that are the standards. When again, when we saw previous to stretch, the biggest instrument like stretch used to trade 1 million a day. So we say, oh, 100 million is not a good volume. So imagine where we are putting the standards for all the clowns that they hate Saylor, and they are saying that strategy doesn't sell anything, doesn't have products. Do you think that this week we can see, as the previous month, that the volume is doubling month by month? Or do you see that we can see probably the same amount of volume of last month?
I mean, I think when we see that everything is doubling consistently months by months, I think it will become at some point unsustainable, because again, it will become too big too quickly, and it's for me it's a sign of irrationality, or a sign of something is breaking too much or something weird. So I wouldn't expect that we can keep this trajectory. And also Saylor said, at this pace, we are like the fastest growing financial product ever, probably almost ever. So again, also from their side, they're telling to the market, to the audience, that again, it's an amazing product, a market fit that was great, but we shouldn't expect to grow 2x every month. So again, I wouldn't mind if we have less volume. It means that the new capital base got trading each other, trying to test some levels, trying to test some of this volume and the idea, and then maybe we can start growing in the next month. So even if we have some months of slow pace of 150 million daily volume, I wouldn't see as a catastrophe or as a bad sign, because we grow so much so quickly, and the market needs also to cool down a bit.
Also, SATA was trading quite near par, 99.50, I think, yesterday. So that's also a good sign that an instrument that is so much smaller than Stretch, but with the same characteristics, it's also trading good. And apparently all the signs goes very well for Strike also.
Yeah, yesterday I closed 99.54.52 SATA. Yeah, and we don't have to forget that they activated the ATM, bought a lot of Bitcoin for a company of their side, and they become the second preferred stock traded one day with 57 million US dollars, something like that. What it means, again, this is not only for the Saylor haters, for the Bitcoin haters. The biggest and the fastest growing financial instrument in history is backed by Bitcoin. The fastest ETF in history are Bitcoin ETF. So if you are still doubting or don't think that Bitcoin can grow at least 30% a year in average, either you're stupid or your parents are cousins. I don't understand.
Do I have to play the role of the cara tapada? Wait a second.
No.
I'm the cara tapada. So you mean Saylor is going to get all the Bitcoins? That is not what the white paper said.
But the point is that we are in a free market, so anyone can buy Bitcoin. You now can go and buy Bitcoin. He also can buy Bitcoin.
Getting all the Bitcoin, they're going to make a fork.
You can make a
Come
fork.
on.
It's like the socialist.
Payment is dead.
The thing is that, yeah, of course, all the clowns that says that Bitcoin is buying we already analyzed that Saylor is buying a lot of Bitcoin. Again, we are in a free market, and if he has the money to buy all the Bitcoin available, he's right. We can buy Bitcoin now. If I can buy Bitcoin now. So it's not that Saylor does not allow. And by the way,
the other people are not doing enough to buy their own portion of Bitcoin. Again,
if is that the same that I said like last time with you? Like it's like if the deer cannot run faster than the lion and gets caught, he has to run faster, not to complain to the
or run smarter.
or do things smarter, as Saylor did. Because Saylor spent all his life, or strategy, or MicroStrategy, spent all this life trying to catch Microsoft. And Microsoft was running faster, and Saylor didn't complain. What he did was to find a way to fight against Microsoft in a smarter way. So if you complain about Saylor, you can still buy Bitcoin. And I checked, Bitcoin is still 21 million. Still, we are 102,000 to the next halving. Still a block every 10 minutes. So I don't know what the Saylor haters say. So anyways, we have to discuss another thing that you have, Marco, that is the Clarity Act. It seems that it's going to get approved as soon as sooner, but I don't know what you think.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not a big expert or follower of specifically this law, but I found this article pretty compelling. So let me share it, which is the main takeaway of the Clarity Act. So maybe we can go through together and try to, maybe you can, let me see if I can put it a bit bigger. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. So the whole idea is that, again, politicians are debating for more than 1 year probably about this, the Clarity Act. We know already that the Genius Act was passed, but now there are also other kind of laws. This one is more for the crypto market broadly. But again, for the general public, Bitcoin and crypto are, synonyms. We know that is completely false, is completely not true. But for the general public, Bitcoin, crypto, Bitcoin are kind of similar. So Bitcoin as well might suffer if we have this legislation put forward, if it cannot pass, because the general public will just read the news and say, oh my God, the America doesn't want this clarity, and so maybe I sell my Bitcoin. So it's completely wrong, but again, the market behaves like that. So the idea here is that if this Clarity Act will pass, there will be much easier rule and clear rule for the whole crypto ecosystem, meaning for exchange, meaning for DeFi protocol, meaning for issuers of token, and also for company that holds these digital assets. So I think overall, if the Clarity Act will pass with both the Democratic and Republicans in America with pretty strong, um, numbers, it will be positive also for Bitcoin, because again, we know that if in 2028 the Democrats will pass and will win the House and the Congress in America, probably they will try to remove everything because they associate Bitcoin and crypto with Trump. So if we have this in place, I think even though it's not really connecting with Bitcoin per se, I think it will be still reassuring for the market and very positive. So there will be again a separation of the roles between this SEC and the CFTC. Will be clear definition of what a token is, of what a security is, or how you should treat the decentralized protocol, and to give this foundation for the crypto market and also for Bitcoin that I think is positive overall. So let's see if and when it will pass, if there will be many other changes. I think now the biggest controversy is on the stablecoin and on the reward on the stablecoin that again the banking system doesn't like by any means. But I think if also this part will be resolved, I think this Clarity Act will pass within 2026.
Yes, I heard yesterday a congresswoman saying that no, we need to check because if they give yield, the banks can give yield because they are banks, but the stable coins we need to check because we need to protect the people. At the end of the day, what they are protecting is the business of the banks.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the point.
Do you guys know if these override the Basel rules for the banking?
I think Basel rule is more on the reserve management, on the capital, on the ratio that they have. So I'm not sure if with the Clarity Act, Bitcoin will become an eligible asset class for banks to put in the balance sheet and to receive credit against it. Probably not. But if this pass, maybe they can put pressure on the Basel Committee, on the banking regulators to say, look, now we have this new asset class that is legit, that is growing, that there is a lot of money potentially to be made of. So now try to change it and put finally Bitcoin as a good collateral that the banking system can now receive and take credit against it. So I think it's a consequential event. If this pass, then maybe over the next year they will try to change also these other choke points, and then maybe finally we have the real adoption also for the institution and the banking system of Bitcoin as capital. So I think it will be bullish.
Yeah, because it's that's one of the main blockage on the road also, and it's counterintuitive to the argument of the Bitcoiners cara tapada, which is we're going to destroy the banking system first. Then once the banking system is destroyed, Bitcoin will come and overtake. That's not the way it's going to happen. The way it's going to happen is first by some kind of merging of both things, and then eventually the superior system will prove to be better, and the other one will be proven to be obsolete and die. But first, you have to prove it by competing inside the same system to prove that Bitcoin is better. So that's why I think the Clarity Act is one step forward. The other one is that one, that Basel rule, because it literally forbidden the banks to hold Bitcoin because it punishes them. If they would hold Bitcoin, I think they have to over collateralize with more fiat or something like that. So it's disincentivizing to having Bitcoin on the balance sheet. But if you remove that one, now the banking system can use Bitcoin as collateral, and they are not I'm not saying that they get the benefit out of it, but if they just treat it as a just pure
Normally,
one-to-one collateral, that is a fair way for Bitcoin to enter, to penetrate the financial system. Now the banks could start creating these collateralized products. They can start issuing credit lines based on Bitcoin. That will unlock a lot more fiat going into Bitcoin. The market cap of Bitcoin will grow once we reach at least the gold market cap, and Bitcoin is inside the financial system. And now rich people can use it without even knowing they're using it. And the poor people can still pay with, I mean, I don't say put in a negative way. I mean, the people who actually is fighting for Bitcoin to be used in villages or in places where they don't have banking, still can achieve that. Now supported by the biggest narrative, which is, well, the banking system as a whole, half of it at least now is Bitcoin. And eventually the fiat system will collapse. That's the way I laid out in my mind. Obviously, it just an idea of how I think it's going to happen. But let's see how it laid out. It's very important that we break these rules one by one. So that's why it's important that the Clarity Act goes first. Also, because this is spreading all around the world, right? The other day in the conference here in Bangkok about fintech, banking system, stablecoins, people from Singapore were talking about the Clarity Act as if the Clarity Act was imposed in Singapore, which is obviously not. But they are waiting. They approve it in the US.
There will be a massive signal for Singapore, for Hong Kong, for other legislation just to follow. So
they will follow.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah, no, very quickly. I really agree with what Diego said, and the process maybe might take longer than we thought. Maybe not a decade. Maybe it's 2-3 decades away that Bitcoin reprice everything and Bitcoin can impose itself as a superior asset, and so need to reshape and force reshaping all the other systems around it and the banking system on top of that. And again, it's very naive to think that Bitcoin can just kill everything and become the global money in 15 years, even in 20 years. So as usual, it's a more gradual process, and those steps are important because once it's inside, once it's more clear, and once it's more spreaded, it's impossible to come back because it's such a superior technology that at some point also smaller banks wants to adopt it because they know that if they don't adopt it, they will die faster against the big four banks. And so the banking system will be incentivized as well. It create more innovation. And then also the biggest banks said, okay, now I need to take care of it because in 20 years, the smaller bank will eat, I don't know, JP Morgan. And so they need to adjust themselves. But the base layer is Bitcoin now. So I think it's completely true what you said. The timeline might be longer, but it's true.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to take 10 years, 5 years, or 15 years. The only way, because everything can change super fast in the world that we live in, especially with AI. But what I'm 100% convinced is that the way to do the hyper Bitcoinization is through institutional money, to Wall Street, to put this as a Trojan horse, and not on the way to use Bitcoin as a payment method and creating circular economies and all this stuff. This is the only way that we can prevail because we live in a world with rules and we cannot fight against that. We need, otherwise you can do a revolution, but you're going to lose. So the only way is playing smarter and put Bitcoin as a Trojan horse, as Saylor is doing. So all of the people who deny Bitcoin, sooner or later, will have to adapt, will have to use Bitcoin. Otherwise, they will be out of business. It happened with BlackRock. It happened now with Morgan Stanley. It's happening with a lot of companies. So that is the way. And again, we bring Saylor because Saylor, there is going to be before and after Saylor in the Bitcoin history, because Saylor is the first one who make it understandable for the corporations and for the institutional money that at the end of the day is the money we need to make the market cap bigger and make Bitcoin win.
So we have
the last one that I want to discuss, that is what happened with Chef Walton and COFFEEZILLA. I don't know. I'm sure that most of the people watched the video. We are not gonna put the video. We are not gonna even put some shorts because I didn't have it. But to put in consideration, I think that you, Marcos, said me that you just discovered COFFEEZILLA.
Me personally, yes.
Wow. Well,
yeah, a lot of media personality on finance in general. I have no idea. So I just know this guy and I check on the profile and they saw so many followers. But me, actually, my niche is very small, and to be honest, I don't want to have other people, or listening or getting influenced by. So I didn't know this guy, but this video for me was pretty compelling. That is, I don't know. I don't know how he reached this audience.
I follow him since 2017, so I know the whole track record. So, and I would tell you why I knew already he's going to fail in this debate. Because the first time when COFFEEZILLA actually became famous, it was by debunking these marketing gurus on digital marketing, things like that online, that they were running around with the Lambos and the mansions and doing some MLMs, scams, or things of that kind. So obviously at the beginning, he got a lot of traction for debunking these guys, very fairly, actually. His second round was from 2018 to 2021, debunking all the crypto shitcoin scams. So he actually pointed out to a lot of these scams, and he did it pretty well. So now his audience grew to, in fact, around 5 million.
In fact, I think that he was one of the first ones who discovered the FTX.
No, it wasn't what it was. But where in the middle of that crypto shitcoin battle, he lost one important battle. He made one big point around Tether, I think in 2020 or 2021, saying Tether is a big Ponzi scheme. He's going to collapse tomorrow because of blah, 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 blah. Same argument as he used with the stretch. I knew he was wrong. I remember commenting on this video saying, "You're fucking wrong on this." The time proved that he was wrong on that. He never got back into Tether. He never released and apologized or anything like that. He continued going, moved with some other kind of scams. Sometimes he got it right, sometimes he got it wrong. Fair. He grew a big audience. When he started commenting on Stretch, I already knew he was so much out of his water.
Yeah.
He's going to die, and even in an argument with any lower than Chef Walton in terms of knowledge about the financial market.
Yeah, of course. That's the point. Well, I want to add about COFFEEZILLA, for me, is stupid. It was stupid since the first day I watched a video of him. But he grew his 5 million audience in YouTube by calling every person a scammer. Well, 30% of the time he was right, 70% of the time he was wrong, but he used to call scammers to people who was my word against your word. There were no mathematics involved. Now, he started calling scam Stretch. The first one who called him out was Adam Livingston with his funny way to communicate, and was amazing the way he did. But yesterday, I saw the video with Jeff Walton, and Jeff Walton literally destroyed him with numbers. If you watch all the video, the only thing that COFFEEZILLA says is, I think this is a scam. I think Bitcoin is not going to go. It's not going to go.
You will fail. I don't know when, but you will fail.
I think. While Jeff Walton was showing him numbers, models. And he destroyed all his narrative that, by the way, he didn't even upload the video yet. Chef Walton was so smart to upload it immediately and cut it.
The raw version, because when COFFEEZILLA actually uploaded, it's going to be an edited version to try to pick up some points where he was not destroyed He was
but
destroyed.
the only thing that they cannot be destroyed is if he uploaded when he say hello, let's start, and at the end when he doesn't even know how to use Riverside, COFFEEZILLA. So at the end he could have cut this, but all the conversation with Jeff Walton, he's extremely destroyed. And also some things that we were pointing in the language, the body language of the when Shaq Mollers was in the stage, the guy from, I think it was from Blog, I don't remember. The body language of COFFEEZILLA. If you see the video, you see Chef Walton totally quiet, talking, explaining things, and COFFEEZILLA doing like this, watching, moving the eyes, raising his voice.
It's another clown with very low IQ and very superficial, and he got traction because, again, it's pretty easy to call scammers on crypto land because we know it's like 95% plus it total scam. So again, you can gain traction about it, but if you don't know something, be humble enough to say, I don't know, or do research. Because how can you go against Jeff Walton, which is like working for like more than 10 years in insurance company, reinsurance, etc., and is not a podcaster. He worked for 10 years in this very niche segment of the market. You have no idea how an insurance company works because it's very complex to understand how they work. You have someone which work inside and is an expert in this field, and you have this attitude of trying to know more than someone else. Then of course you get clowned on the internet and you lose followers, and hopefully his image is damaged forever. Because again, if you have low IQ and you are not humble enough and you just spit stupid things, not backed by math, not backed by statement, that's the result. You're just a superficial kid screaming behind a microphone. And I hope the audience will be smart enough to defollow him or to be challenging him more. Because again, saying that your company is gonna fail, I don't know when, but it will. Bitcoin is gonna stay flat forever. I don't know how, because it's completely nonsense and there is no debate.
The thing is, the funny thing is, when it say Bitcoin is gonna grow 30% a year, and I say no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
That Fernando is I mean, it's comprehensible. I mean, I can understand that someone might think that Bitcoin is gonna grow at 5%. Someone is gonna. So again, the 30% is our vision. It's Saylor vision, but again, it can be wrong.
It's not our vision. The point, that's what we need to point out. The 30% is not vision. It's mathematics. It's not Samson Mouse saying Bitcoin is gonna be 1 million by the end of the year. It's mathematics. It's the power law. So
I kind of agree, but again, it can change over the next 10, 15 years. But so again, I understand that it can't fully understand why 30, because it can be 25, it can be 21, but not understanding that strategy is taking a risk in the sense that they have their own idea. They say, I give you back 11% because I'm sure my collateral will go higher 30%, and they take an arbitrage of 19. If you talk about finance, how can you not understand this point? Because if you don't understand this basic point, or how company works of taking risk and doing operations, you should not talk about this topic. Study first, have a better understanding, and then try to debate someone that has a bigger knowledge than you in all these topics. Otherwise, you look like a clown.
It's like it reminds me the drunk guy on the bar who is trying to pick up fights with everyone in the bar until he got unlucky enough to pick up a professional fighter.
That's the point. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And yes, I think that there were so funny shorts of this, and after that, all Bitcoin Twitter were sharing, retweeting. There was a Tim Cosman said, I will retweet all the tweets talking about, I'm doing my mission, retweeting all the tweets talking about the interview about Chef Walton and COFFEEZILLA. It's incredible. And one of the things that I like the most when COFFEEZILLA said, I don't care if your company goes bankruptcy, but I care because I think that people don't understand the tail risk. And Chef Walton say, I don't think you understand the tail race. That was a knockout.
Silent.
Yeah, or also saying again, the main argument of this guy was strategy is a Ponzi scheme, and he literally doesn't know what a Ponzi scheme works or how he set up a Ponzi scheme first. So you're completely an idiot because again, if your main argument, at least check it, double check it, triple check it, because if you fail on your biggest argument, because obviously a Ponzi scheme with 58 billion of excess reserve, it's not that much of a Ponzi scheme. If you don't understand the difference between a preferred equity and debt, again, don't talk about these topics. It's very superficial, and I think that's the stage of internet, and that's the stage of those gurus that they got very famous, very lucky to grow their own video, because again, now on internet, it's enough to have headlines, it's enough to have the right distribution channel, etc. But very, very poor quality and very low IQ.
But that's the point that shows the society where we live in. These people, we were comparing, COFFEEZILLA has 5 million subscribers on YouTube, while True North have 15,000. So
Also, give it the benefit that the guy started in 2016. So it's a traction built year upon year with some success, with some no success. The main problem here is he picked up the wrong fight with the wrong people here.
Yes. And the way is, again, for all of those that say, oh, because Saylor is going to buy all the Bitcoin and people are not going to get enough Bitcoin for them. Sorry, if you prefer to watch these clowns instead of watching True North,
you will learn the lesson.
So we are doing our part, our tiny part, to try to educate people, to try to tell people why they should buy Bitcoin, why they should understand, no, not to buy, because this is not financial advice, but why they should do their own research and decide if they want to buy Bitcoin or not. But anyways, if you don't, we live in a free world. Now everyone, I can go to the street and every person with a smartphone can buy Bitcoin. It's not that because Saylor is buying a huge amount of Bitcoin, the rest of the people cannot buy Bitcoin. Everyone can buy Bitcoin. You have to study it. And that's the way we are doing our part. But you see all the ignorance of the people. So what I'm going to do is, okay, I do the education, go study Bitcoin. I am showing you the problem that the world is living in. I am showing you the solution. I am not saying go and buy Bitcoin, but study Bitcoin and decide. But at the end of the day, I will support more the people like Saylor, like Chef Walton, like Adam Livingston, who are working to make Bitcoin mainstream. And of course, we are going to get benefit from that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't know if you want to add anything else.
I think it's been said. Wrong fight, wrong people. You got destroyed, probably. I don't think he's gonna do any apologize or correction of his point of view because of ego.
Yeah, but it tells us also how, again, it seems strange to say, but how early are we still? Because again, if like big, I think it's a young guy. I don't know, maybe it's 35, 30, I don't know, but and he has a big following, and he puts out this kind of video, and is considered to be like a top guru. That's what I learned from from the number of followers and from the audience. And he lacks so deeply the basic comprehension of this new business model, of this, also by Bitcoin itself. Because if he says that Bitcoin is going to be flat forever, there is, we can argue that maybe it's not 30%, it can be 35, it can be 20, but for sure it's not going to be flat forever, because otherwise it means that you lack basic comprehension. It tells me that we are super early on everything still. And so that's, I think, a foolish case. We are so early.
Also, Chef Walton was prepared for that argument. Okay, you say Bitcoin is going up 30. I don't believe you for whatever reason. Then what is the risk if Bitcoin don't go up forever? And Chef Walton said, we run thousands of Monte Carlo simulations to plan what is the risk and to actually measure exactly the point where we might get into trouble. And what is that point? Well, the situation is Bitcoin must go 80% down and remain there for
20 years.
20 years or 10
More than a
years,
decade, yeah. 10,
something
15.
like that. And then we might get into troubles. And obviously, he doesn't have a response. First is the response is, I don't believe you, but it's not based on nothing. On the other hand, this is not an opinion. They actually run the Monte Carlo simulation, which is the proper scientific method for you to analyze risk, price predictions, or anything else in nature. And it will give you the most strong platform for you to take a decision other than simply your opinion.
Or your belief. And the other funny thing was like when Chef Walton said, I study finance on college. I'm a big finance nerd because if you watch some episodes of True North, they always put the Excel and do the math. And COFFEEZILLA asked him, do you know what happened in 2008? Come on. Like, how come he doesn't know the big crisis? So I think that, as you said, we are super early. And again, people can still get on the train. You have to choose who to listen to. You can listen to these clowns that call everyone a scam without even do a simple research with AI. Guys, now you have AI. He could have asked Grok to explain him how strategy works, how Stripe works, how SATA and Stretch work. He went there and he got smashed. I hope at least this guy is not going to talk anymore about Bitcoin or crypto or whatever for a long time.
We can talk about crypto, but not about strategy or Bitcoin. That's my take.
The point is that this stupid guy might think that Bitcoin and crypto is the same. So he's not going to talk anymore. Nothing related with crypto.
It's something obvious since 2013 now that is completely separate. It's getting more clear every day. And if someone in 2026 still use as synonyms, I cannot take any word from his mouth because it means that you lack basic 101. It's like literally the first block. If you don't understand the first block, how can you start to disclose with 10 higher level of stuff? It's completely based without any foundation. So for me, it's a completely no, and it's laughable. And I enjoy 1 hour of this fight because it's not even a fight. It was completely destroyed.
Yes,
Fun.
It was funny. And it was really funny to have you back again to talk with you, Marco. It was a good episode. Tell to our audience what is your social media so they can reach you.
Yeah, only on X at Batistoshi93. And feel free to reach out, DM, add me, and we can have conversation there. So only on X.
Excellent, guys. Thank you very much for being on the other side. If you like the episode, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, follow Marco on social media, because doing so, you help us a lot to help us to paint the world orange. See you in the next episode. Stay humble, stack sats, and remember, we are all Satoshi.